Welcome back to my workshop. And it seems the first time in ages I've been able to say that. But if you'd like to see what I have been doing, have a look at my Instagram page. There's all sorts of stuff I've been up to. But anyway, you don't want to know that, you want to know what this video's about. So, it's time for a play. This is something I've wanted to do for a very long time, but I've managed to find somewhere on the net that sells you this bit off an office chair. So you get the base, you get the wheels, you get the gas strut, and you get the mechanism to go on the top. What you don't get is the chair. Brilliant, I hear you cry. So now you stand a chance to make yourself an office chair that suits you, fits your body, and is comfortable. I suppose it could be argued this is an environmentally friendly way of doing it. We're not using foam, so there's no sort of oil products involved. Well, there probably are, but there's very, very few of them. So it's a much better way of actually making a chair. So, without any further ado, let's get going. Now, the first thing we need is a design. I had this chair, I hate to think how many years, it's probably about 30 years old. I used to work in an office and I had a proper job. And this was my office chair. And after about 20 years it fell apart. So I brought it into the workshop and did stuff to it. I reupholstered it, I put a new back on it. It's alright. It's great for being in the workshop, but it's not a proper chair. But it gives us the dimensions. You can find old bits of chair like this outside any office block. Just go in, find the office manager. I'm sure they'll be happy you take them away, because the bit that breaks is always the back. You know, you can get spare parts, it's just no one's got the time and the energy to do it. So if you want to try this for yourself, in fact there's probably quite a good business to be had there, refurbishing office chairs, using the bits out the back of old offices. So, but this will give us the dimensions that we need. It's quite a solid bit of wood. Now you could do this with sort of soft wood or something like this, but if you do that, it's not a very strong wood. You want something that's really got a bit of strength to it, so you need a hard wood. Traditionally, certainly in England, chair frames were made out of beech, and there's usually a good reason for something like that, and the answer is because it's strong. So I'm just going to put this through the table saw, reduce it down to the sizes that we need, and away we go. Then we can start jointing it all together. We're now at the stage that we've got lots of pieces of wood cut up. They've all got mortise and tenons on the end of them, but I don't intend to go through how to do mortise and tenon joints. If you've never done a mortise and tenon before, have a look at some of my other videos, you'll find there's plenty of them, and I'll show you how to cut mortise and tenon joints. So I'm now going to glue this together. The only thing that's different to what I've normally done in the past is the joint that's here, and I've cut it at a slight angle because obviously I want the back of the chair to recline. I mean, there is going to be some mechanism on the chair to help it recline. But I've cut the joint so it sits at about a 10-degree angle. If you've never made a chair before, you've never had a chair in pieces before, you see that I seem to be putting in a lot of extra rails, which aren't necessarily there for sort of structural purposes, but what they become awfully apparent when I start to put the material in place. So this is the sides of the chair done. It looks like this is going to be a very, very deep chair, but what you have to bear in mind is that we've got webbing to go across here, and then we have springs that come wadding and various bits and pieces. So the base of the chair, the bit you're actually going to sit on, is about there. The distance I want between there and there is about 200 mil. Well, that would fit my body shape anyway, and this is what it's for. This is my chair. So here we have our basic frame. So everything has been mortise and tenoned. I put a screw through every single joint just to reinforce it. So as you can see, I've started to put the webbing on. Now on the bottom, not only have I got webbing to worry about, but I'm also going to be having springs. And I'm going to put 12 springs in here, 3 rows of 4. Some may think that's rather a lot, but it's my share, so I don't care. So what I'm going to do is put 4 rows of webbing that way. Now, in order to get it on, I'm going to have to turn the whole thing over to do it, so it's probably not very exciting to watch. So we've got the webbing in place, so now we're ready to start considering the upholstery. Now, this is the bit I really like. I consider this type of upholstery almost to be sculpture rather than upholstery. It sounds a bit pretentious, but what you're actually doing is you're sculpting a seat. And I find that really quite exciting. So this one's going to be for me. So I want the best possible seat that's going to suit my body. It's going to hold me in place, give me lots of support, and it's going to be comfortable so that I choose to sit in this chair for quite a long time. Now, one of the beauties of this type of upholstery is whilst you're having to sew things, you use absolutely enormous needles with blooming great big eyes. So actually threading them is really easy, which as you get older you start to appreciate more. And there's none of that sort of fancy casting on stuff that you do if you're doing fine sewing. Tie it on, use a knot, it's nice and easy. The only person who's ever going to see this is the person who reupholsters the chair in about 50 years' time. I'll live with that. So as you can see, I've now got the springs in place. I've actually used 11 in the end. It's a bit of a strange number, but it sort of makes sense. So the next job is to tie all these springs together. We've got them anchored at the bottom. So now we're going to anchor them at the top so they don't move around when you start sitting on it. So I've put some tacks at the bottom, and what I'm now going to do is you're just taking this twine through, tying it in as you go, because what I don't want is this to move around. So I don't know if you can see, I've got that one. So I'll do 3 rows, or 4 rows that way, and then I'll do that way. So none of the springs can actually move very far. They end up staying exactly where I want them. This is what I mean when it starts to sort of sculpt what it is you're trying to do. So I'll do that now. Here we are, you can see that's all the springs in and it's all roped together. Nothing there can move very far. It's got to be tested, isn't it? This might not be elegant, but oh, I tell you what, that's not bad. That's quite a nice height. It's quite nice on the arms, because obviously it's still going to come up a little bit, so the arms are going to be about there. So having got our springs in place, it's time to cover them up. So I've got a first layer of hessian, so we'll quickly put some tacks in this just to hold it in place. I'm not going to get carried away tacking it all in place just yet. I just want to have a couple of tacks just to hold it there, because there's a bit of fiddling and fitting required to make this fit. It's much easier working on small chairs like this. We want this to get reasonably taut. If you leave lots of slack inside, and when it becomes a finished chair, the whole thing moves around a lot. Of course, I've made life difficult for myself by having a curved front, but the curved front is there for good artistic reasons and also good comfort reasons as well. So we now need to do some cutting to get our hessian around these bits and pieces. So get yourself some form of marker, and what you need to do is to feel down Imagine if you can, we've got our piece of material like that, so we cut down towards it. And then we end up with that sort of that then folds up round it, and that goes round the side of our thing. It all makes sense really. That's what we should now have. Material comfortably come past all of these, and I can now fold that and work that, and so it holds it all in place. I'll do exactly the same on the other side, and then we'll go around, tackle all this in place, and away we go. Now we're at the point where we're going to start to sculpt things. As you can see, if you sat on that now, you can see the springs poking through. I tell myself it's comfortable, but really you wouldn't want to sit on it for too long. Also, it falls away quite sharply at the front there. It also falls away at the sides, and you can see it does exactly the same there. So what we need to do is put some structure across the front here and across around the sides. Something that's going to stay, something that's going to be solid, but whilst at the same time being flexible. So what we do is we use this stuff. It's called black fibre. I believe it's shredded coconut. And we're going to build pockets of it all the way along here. So we've got to create a pocket. So I've got a piece of hessian which I'm going to put there. Now I'm going to sew it that way round, put a line of stitches along there, then we'll put the fibre in there, and then we can pull that over the top of there, and we'll start to build our pocket here. It's funny how the quality of the sewing changes. When I'm doing leather work, which as you looked at my video channel, you see I do sew quite a lot of leather, and there the quality of the stitching makes a tremendous difference. Whereas I come in and do this and it's quite rough and ready, and you can't imagine I'm going to actually do proper stitches. If you haven't already looked, have a look at my Instagram feed. You'll find information of what it is I'm up to. A lot of what I do doesn't make it to video. It's just not appropriate, or it's not very interesting, but it makes good pictures and it's interesting stuff. Now if we were to just put our black fibre in here and fold that over the top, it would hold it. Wouldn't do it very well, but it would hold it. So a better way to do it is to sew in a series of loops called bridle ties, just to make it easy. Right, so the ties are in place. We'll start at the bottom, and we just put little handfuls in. I don't want to get carried away at this moment because we can do it in a series of layers. Just tuck it underneath the ties, spread it out as we go because we want it. You buy this stuff, well, you can buy it in sort of 1 kilo bags if you really want to. The best way to buy it is a 10 kilo bag. You get an awful lot for 10 kilos. You can buy it online from any sort of traditional upholstery supplier. There's lots of people selling it. And make sure you tease it out as you go, just to make sure you don't get any lumps. It's very easy to get sort of knots of it, which is the last thing you want. So having put the stuffing into place, now the temptation is to pull this really, really tight. Try and resist that temptation. We want it firm, but we don't want it silly tight because we will tighten it up in a minute. That's all part of the shaping process. Now, one of the things I like about this type of upholstery is we get to use big needles, and they don't come much bigger than this. I'm not excited by the size of the needle. The bit that makes the difference is the hole in the size of the needle is actually big enough up to see what's going on. And as I get older, that becomes an advantage, and it's one that we all like. Now, what I'm doing now is starting to sew an edge. So you use this blooming great big needle, and I'm going from the top, or just above the wooden frame, and I've drawn a line across the front here. And what I'm trying to do is get as close to the line as I physically can, and then when you get to the bottom you go around it 3 times, pull it tight. And what this starts to do is to build some structure, and you can see what's starting to happen is it's making a roll across the front of here. And I shall go all the way along, and I shall do it here, and then I shall do another one from about there that will come up to somewhere, and that will start to make a solid and supported edge all the way along the front of here. As you can see, that's now got 2 rows, and it's got the start of an edge, and we'll do that a little bit more on the next layer, and then we just build it up, and slowly we'll get the edge that we want. Right, it's time for another layer. More bridle ties, more black fibre. And then once we put the next layer of hessian on, this starts to tidy it up quite a lot. It looks a bit untidy, I think would be the polite way to describe it at the front. And as my old teacher used to tell me, if it starts looking untidy, it's probably going to end up untidy, which is really not what we want. And then you put a layer of cotton wadding in amongst all of that. And the thing you have to bear in mind is the sort of the fireproofing of it all. One of the reasons why foam is so popular, I mean, apart from the fact it's so fast to do it, I mean, you think this is going to take me a couple of days to do this, whereas if you were doing it with foam you'd probably do it in 20 minutes. But you can make foam fireproof. So when you buy your materials for doing this kind of work, you have to make sure that you've got fireproof layers. The last thing you want to do is burn your house down. So the cotton wadding has a fireproof layer, and then on top of the cotton wadding there's a calico, and the calico is fireproofed. And in this particular instance I'm using a commercial upholstery fabric, or I will be using a commercial upholstery fabric, and that's also fireproof. So you add all that little lot together and you'd struggle to set fire to it, which is pretty much what we want. So I'll just carry on stuffing all of these, and then once I've got this on, I'll then put another layer of calico, and we'll do this same process around the front, but that will tighten that up quite a lot and make it an awful lot neater. Then I'll do the sides, and I'm just going to put a layer of calico on those. I'm not going to go any further than that. Eventually, across the top here and here, I'll have a little bit of padding, but then we'll turn our attention to the back, and we'll do the same process on the back here as I've done along the front. As you can see, we're a little bit further along. We now have a proper first stuffing on the seat and on the back. I've sewn an edging into it. I then did exactly the same process on the back, and as you can see, I've sewn around the outsides. What I've also done here is I've put 2 lines of stitching here and 2 lines of stitching here. This is to pull the whole lot down, stop it going anywhere, but also to reduce the thickness of the back. If I was making an armchair, this would be much deeper. It would probably come to sort of somewhere like there, and then the back would go at a slightly bigger angle, and you can afford to have lots and lots of depth at the back. But this is going as an office chair. It's going to sit on one of those swivel bases, so we can't afford to have too much at the back. By doing it this way, I still get lots of padding at the back. It makes it a very pleasant back to sit on, and as luck would have it, I have actually tried it. You'll be surprised to know. So now we're getting a bit towards the end. So this next layer, we have a cotton wadding, a couple of centimetres thick, and it comes with a fireproof barrier on top of it, or flame-proof barrier. Then we've got this one, which is a calico, which is also a flame-proof calico. Put the two together and you'd struggle to set fire to this, which is probably what we want. So it's just a question of slowly working our way around and fitting all these pieces together. Take your time, get it all smooth. If you get any wrinkles in it, then life is really hard work. So what I'm now going to do is to tack this one in, do the sides, and then we'll slowly working our way around the rest of it. Oh yes, I think I'm going to be quite comfortable. Yes, I think this will do me as a chair. This is the tilting mechanism, which needs to go somewhere around there. Now, one of the problems with anything with a pattern is you've got to keep the pattern straight. Oh, I hate patterns. There's a lot to be said for using plain material, but there you go. So we turn to the final panel, and the hardest bit is lining it up. The bit I hate about using a material with a large pattern is you end up wasting so much material as you try and match it. Right, now we come to the bit I hate. For a man who sews a lot of leather, I don't mind sewing leather, but I hate sewing fabric. So I've now got to sew all the way along there, but we can do it. If my mother could see me now, all those years she spent trying to teach me how to sew. So all I'm doing is just, this is very simple sewing, I'll just make hard work of it. But I'll go all the way down this side. As you can see, that's coming quite nicely. And then I'll do the other side. And then all we got to do is the bottom and put it on the stand. Right. So. Well, that's the end of the video. I think I'm just going to sort of sit here for a while and test this chair out. I must say it's rather good. It's good on the back, which is what we all like. I think it's quite stylish. It's quite solid. It supports me very well. So that's pretty much everything you want in a chair, isn't it? I could sit at a desk going like this all day. Not sure I'd want to. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, have a look at some of the other videos on my site. You never know, you might even enjoy those as well. Any comments, get in touch. I always like to hear from people, especially the ones who say nice things. I'm not so fussed by the ones who say nasty things, but we don't get many of those. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.